Hello and welcome. My name is Kaylee from Harmony Caregiving, and I'm so grateful to be able to spend this time with you today to go over something of great importance for not only Harmony, but also so many people all around the world. On April 11th, it will be World Parkinson's Day, a day where loved ones can come together, whether living with the diagnosis or caregivers, whether that be caregivers in the healthcare industry or caregivers in a family sense, to come together to advocate, educate, and learn and hear stories from loved ones. It's a great opportunity for caregivers to hear those stories and hear what it's like to live with Parkinson's, to better understand how to care for those loved ones in the community. Again, whether you're a caregiver in a healthcare sense or a caregiver in a family sense. But when we're talking about Parkinson's, what does that actually mean? What does it mean to have Parkinson's? Well, Parkinson's is a neurodegenerative disorder. What that means is parts of the brain are degenerating. So for Parkinson's, the dopamine levels are degenerating or they're lowering. But what is dopamine and why is that important, or why is it important to acknowledge when speaking about Parkinson's and the decreased levels? Well, dopamine is the reason why we have smooth movements, coordinated movements. And when those dopamine levels decrease, those smooth, coordinated movements are no longer as coordinated. They may seem slow, rigid, they may have freezing, fall risks are increased, with the tremors in the hand. All that is increased because our dopamine levels are decreasing. Parkinson's is actually the second most common neurodegenerative disorder alongside Alzheimer's. They go very closely together in that way. So that's what Parkinson's is, and that's a very broad overall generalization of what Parkinson's is. And there's so many different, ways to explain Parkinson's and go over, the information. So today is truly just a brief overview of what Parkinson's is, what are some key factors, and then what are some symptoms to look out for in early onset and then advanced symptoms as they go along in their care journey. So what are some key factors? Well, when you're working with a loved one living with Parkinson's, or you're new to the diagnosis of Parkinson's, a lot of times doctors may ask you, well, do you have family history of Parkinson's? And you may say yes, you may say no. Some families maybe aren't as open and, communicative about, diagnoses or previous history of diagnoses. So if you happen to know that a previous loved one has lived with Parkinson's before or neurodegenerative disease, it's really important that we speak on these topics so that way you know for the future things to look out for just in case. So family history is one. Exposure to environments, whether that be heavy metals, particles in the air. A lot of times you'll see this with farmers. A lot of farmers will be diagnosed with Parkinson's because of the chemicals that may have been used during that time. Other cases, maybe there's a previous head injury or brain inflammation. Other times, some more common factors, males and females. They both can be diagnosed with Parkinson's, but predominantly we do find that diagnosis settles more on the male side of the spectrum. The diagnosis usually comes in between ages 50 to 60. There is early onset, 40 to 50, but predominantly, again, it would be in that 50 to 60 age range. Other concerns may be, your diet, right? If you're very active and you have a very active lifestyle, those risk factors lower. So keeping those in mind. So what are some common symptoms of Parkinson's? And we've already gone through a few of them through this video today. Some of the more common symptoms would be, as mentioned, the hand tremors. Right? Whether that be the hand tremors, legs, fingers, it could just be a finger tapping. Like I say, it's going to look different for each person living with Parkinson's. But again, a lot of them co-reside with each other. So in tandem with the tremors, you also have slowed movements. Maybe some muscle stiffness or rigidity, maybe a reduced arm swing. We all, again, recognize that our bodies naturally coordinate with each other when we're walking, running, going up and down stairs. But when that dopamine level has decreased, that coordination is no longer there. So fall risks are much more increased. There's definitely an increase in fall risks and things to watch out for. Maybe that's rugs or cords on the ground because of that potential freezing that happens when that loved one is trying to walk. They could potentially have, a softer or more monotone tone to them. That can be, due to vocal cords pushing out for the diaphragm. So you may notice that slowness or more monotone speech. You can also notice maybe some sleep disturbances, whether that be you're waking up during the night, not able to fall asleep at night, maybe falling asleep during the day, which has now switched over your regular sleeping patterns. You can also notice potential increase in depression, anxiety, mental health concerns because of the diagnosis. So it's important that we have open, honest conversations with our loved ones about these symptoms. Even if you notice just one of those symptoms, it's important that we catch it early. Unfortunately, Parkinson's does not have a cure, but there are treatments. There are treatments, and the medical industry have come so far to increase the quality of life for loved ones who are living with Parkinson's. I heard this one person say at some point where it doesn't hurt to talk. And sure, sometimes words do hurt, but it doesn't hurt to talk about a diagnosis. A lot of times the conversations may feel taboo, or they may feel like you don't want to, step on any toes or, hurt someone's feelings by asking about the diagnosis or asking how it affects that loved one. But it never hurts to talk about it. In fact, all it does is bring more awareness for self, awareness for others. And that's what the goal of World Parkinson's Day is, to bring awareness, to bring understanding and empathy towards loved ones who are living with Parkinson's. So I thank you again for being here with me today.